Welcome back to How To Craft Fair and Happy New Year. Today's video is short and sweet. We're diving right into my best tips and tricks for how to set up goals for your business in 2025 and what action you should take in order to make the most of your dreams and aspirations this year and beyond. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. So the first thing I want you to do is to formally establish your goals. Either write them down or type them into a document on your computer. However you wish to do this, just be sure that you're putting your goals out into the universe so that it helps to hold yourself accountable throughout the year. You'll want to avoid relying on mental notes to set your goals because with this method, it's a little bit easier to bend these types of goals as time goes on or to even ignore them altogether. So now we have to ask, what kind of goals should we be setting for ourselves or for our business? I'd recommend setting up a few different types of goals so that you don't get tunnel vision on one specific task throughout the entire year. I think the most obvious for most of us is going to be financial goals. This can be something that looks like revenue targets. Maybe you set a specific revenue goal for the year, broken down quarterly or monthly or even per event. Cost management is another thing that you want to look at when it comes to financial goals because it'll enable you to identify areas where you can reduce expenses or improve efficiency in your business operations. So, of course, the more that you drive those operational expenses down, the more profit that will leave you. And you can also look at your pricing strategy. So review and adjust your pricing strategy based on your costs, management trends, the events that you participate in, and the value of your own work. So don't forget that as well. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about marketing and visibility. So maybe some of your goals are related to this, where you want to increase your social media presence. You can aim to increase your followers or engagement on platforms like Instagram. Maybe you're on Pinterest or TikTok or whatever platform you happen to be on by a particular percentage each quarter, or maybe a particular number of followers each quarter. You can spread these goals out a little bit throughout the year because if you make the goals a little bit too often, maybe like a weekly goal or a monthly goal, there's a lot of just ebbs and flows throughout the year where people are paying attention, people are just in general not paying attention. So for your social media and your marketing type of goals, I'd recommend spreading them out to maybe quarterly, and that way you're getting kind of like a fair shot every 3 months at seeing some true trends and dips, things like that. All right, so website development, that's definitely another goal that you can set for yourself and one that I tend to struggle with. I have a website of my own, but to update it sometimes feels daunting for me. So if you jot this down as a goal that you can stick to, then I think it's, again, going to keep you a little bit more accountable to making these improvements online. It's really important to keep your website as up to date as possible, not only with the items that you're offering and your pricing for the items, but also keep feedback in mind. So if you receive positive feedback, be sure to have some sort of testimonial page on your website where you can keep this up to date to sort of establish credibility as a maker and a seller. And then, of course, something that I talk a lot about on the channel, but it's worth mentioning again, is email marketing. It's so important to build and grow your email contact list. So I would set a target for subscriptions and plan some kind of regular newsletters that showcase your works and any kind of promotions that you have. But again, email marketing, very important because social media platforms, they kind of come and go. Some get very popular and then some kind of fade away. Email marketing, you're in control of that, okay? So it's up to you to build that, and that way, everybody that's on your email list, you have access to all those contacts. So very important to keep growing that throughout the year. All right, so shifting gears a little bit, we can now talk about product development goals. So maybe you have a new collection that's rolling out. Plan to launch seasonal or themed collections, for example, spring 2025 or holiday 2025, and set deadlines for their completion. That part is very important. So you need to basically wind the clock backwards and figure out when you need to have your collections done by in order to promote them in advance so that people can actually take advantage of the sales. All right. So you have to sort of work your way backwards from whenever you want to launch these collections in order to have a successful launch. Product diversification, that's another goal that you can possibly explore. Think about creating new lines of products or variations of your current offerings based on customer feedback or market research. And of course, market research is looking at your sales trends and your sales history. Being able to keep track of these things will open up opportunities for you in order to do certain things like this, variations of product lines or new offerings of current lines. And then limited editions is another thing that we can do in order to basically create a sense of urgency and exclusivity among your customers. Okay, so if you have kind of like these little one offs or limited edition runs, this can make customers sort of pounce on these, knowing that they're not going to be around forever. Okay, so this is just another idea that you can set as a goal for yourself to introduce in 2025. Now let's talk about skill development. This is really important in order to kind of keep yourself sharp and up to date on things. So, workshops and courses are one way to committing to enhance your skills by attending some sort of online tutorials or workshops related to your craft, marketing, or entrepreneurship. So, I was recently part of one called Crafting for Profit Camp, and it was a holiday edition, and we all there was, I think, 13 or 14 speakers, something like that, and we all created videos for this event in order to help crafters with holiday themed events. So keep an eye out for these types of opportunities. There's tremendously good information in these workshops from a lot of different speakers. Okay, so you're getting kind of like a diverse mix of feedback and information on people with all sorts of different backgrounds and levels of experience. So these types of workshops can be really helpful. And then something as simple as networking. This can be a goal that you keep in mind throughout the year. Join some sort of local artisan groups or even just online communities, maybe like Facebook groups or things like that, in order to learn from peers and share resources. So, information, I mean, this is what I do on my channel. I just share information. There's a lot of channels like this, okay? So, I think the more that you expose yourself to, the better. And while I hope that you're enjoying your time here, just broaden your horizons and get as much information and feedback as you can get, because to me, there's never enough. And while some isn't going to apply to you in your situation, it's never a bad thing to just seek it and help yourself by seeing what can apply to you to help you. You can also set goals to collaborate with other artists or makers in order to cross promote products. Maybe you're both participating in the same event, so that could be an opportunity, or just to reach a new audience based on your independent groups of followers. And by coming together, you can definitely expose yourself to a new audience. So that's going to lead to some opportunities to gain your following on social media. So this is definitely a key goal to keep in mind in the coming year and beyond. All right, so now let's talk about customer engagement. And the first thing that we can, of course, mention is customer feedback. Plan some kind of a goal to gather and analyze customer feedback to improve products or services. Try to condense this down into one location. So you might be getting feedback on your Etsy shop or directly on your website or your in-person events. And I know that this is probably going to be the trickiest to record, but if somebody is giving you feedback at an event, maybe take a moment to just jot it down in between customers so that you can come back to it later. But you want to analyze all this feedback and make the most of it. You can either improve your products, your services, your attitude, and as a shop owner in itself. There's a lot of different ways that you can use this information in order to make yourself better. Loyalty programs is another great option. Sometimes this is attached to an email newsletter where they work hand in hand, but consider implementing some sort of customer loyalty program to encourage repeat business and increase customer retention. Customer retention being the most important thing here. Sometimes it's nice to kind of get those one-offs, like those new customers, but if you're able to have customers that keep coming back to you for, maybe they shop from you every holiday season or something like that, this is where you can really start to grow your business at considerable volume. So just think about some sort of loyalty program that you can incorporate into your business that will help you down the road. And then community involvement, that's another very obvious opportunity here. And of course, with this channel being How to Craft Fair, it's the thing that I talk about the most. But set goals to participate in some kind of craft fairs or markets in order to increase your business visibility. I know that it might be kind of scary to get out there, especially for the first time, but everybody started at some point. Everybody was a new vendor at some point, and I guarantee you that if you go to an event, there's probably another person or two there who it's their first time as well. So be sure to chat with your neighbors and get to know your neighbors, and you might be able to get along with another first timer and kind of come up together. So that can be pretty exciting. But try to get over the nerves and the anxiousness feeling that comes with getting out to a craft fair, because it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for you. Now let's move on to operational improvement. So the first thing that comes to mind is inventory management. You want to develop some sort of system to effectively manage stock levels and materials in order to reduce waste and improving your sales. So basically, this is about eliminating that unnecessary overhead that sometimes comes with inventory management. So you want to just analyze your sales, what's moving, what's not moving, fade out the things that aren't moving, and dedicate more of your space to the items that are selling the best. Okay. So you want to just kind of keep this flow going where you dedicate more of your space to your best sellers, fade out the things that aren't doing well, and then introduce new ideas so that hopefully they can join into your best sellers. And you want to just keep repeating this pattern. Think about your time management. Set specific hours for crafting, for marketing, and business management to balance your workload. So this is very important, and this is one of the goals that I think every small business owner should dedicate for themselves. Honestly, whether or not you're even in the craft fair and crafting industry, this can avoid burnout, which is one of the biggest crushing feelings for small business owners, is when you just bite off too much and you're going too hard for too long, and then you just step away from it entirely. So you don't want to approach that. You want to set those hours for crafting, marketing, and business management so that you have a realistic work-life balance. Think about some automation tools that you can research and implement into your business. Maybe it's some sort of software that can help automate certain aspects of your business, such as social media posting and inventory tracking. So inventory tracking, maybe that's implementing SKU numbers and barcodes into your price tags. And then that way, if you scan every item that sells at your booth, you can just wrap up the show, go home, and then open up the app that you have for your inventory tracking and then see everything that's sold. And, inventory management and all those things become so much easier because it's automated now. So these are just a couple examples of ways that you can essentially create shortcuts, use technology to save time for yourself and energy down the road so that you can spend more time creating and less time doing the administration type of stuff. So now let's talk about your sales channels. Maybe you have some e-commerce goals that you want to hit. If you don't already sell online, consider setting up some sort of online shop. And of course, the obvious ones that we think of are Etsy and maybe Shopify, things like that. If you don't have some sort of benchmarks in place, that you can set up something for this. Maybe you want to sell to a certain demographic. Maybe you want to sell to like all the 50 states, or maybe like different countries, or you just want to do some sort of financial goals for yourself. Like, I want to hit a certain sales number or have a certain number of sales throughout the year. Very easy to set these types of goals when it comes to e-commerce. Maybe you want to explore wholesale opportunities. So this is becoming really common in the crafting industry, where maybe there's some sort of local shop or boutique in your town that you can have a space dedicated to your work, and you can be in a brick and mortar store as well as what you're doing online and what you're doing at craft fairs. Okay, so wholesale opportunities, keep an eye out for those, because you never know if those can work out well for you as well. Now let's talk about a couple of sustainability goals. So the first thing that I think of is eco-friendly practices. Consider integrating sustainable materials or practices into your work and setting a goal to increase the percentage of eco-friendly products. If you do this, very, very important, if you do this, advertise it, make it known to people that this is important to you, okay? Because this is important to a lot of people, and this can actually help your conversion rate when it comes to selling at shows. People that might be on the fence about buying something from you, if they know that you have eco-friendly practices in place, this could be the thing that makes them, converts them into a sale. Also, think about your packaging. Very important, you guys. So, set goals to reduce waste by evaluating and improving your packaging goals. So, yes, this does align with a sustainability goal, but your packaging is very important, even from like an aesthetic level. You want it to look good, you want it to feel good, you want people to feel secure about making a purchase from you. For instance, if you make something that's fragile, like glasswork or some other item that could be damaged during transport, think about the type of packaging that you're using, not only from a sustainability standpoint, but also just to care for the item after someone makes a purchase from you. So then the final set of goals that I can talk about that are tangible goals are your personal goals. Think about your work-life balance. So set boundaries around your work hours to ensure that you have time for your personal life and self-care. This is really important because when we're trying to grow a small business, sometimes we just put the pedal to the metal and we're going so hard, and it just, you can kind of have blinders on yourself and you start to lose sight of your personal time and your self-care time or your family time or whatever it might be. Sometimes we lose sight of that, and while it is great to see a business grow, you also have to maintain balance, and that's very important. So that's just one thing that you can set a goal for yourself moving forward, is to maintain that balance. Now, the other thing that I don't think I've really mentioned on the channel here before, but it's a good point. It's to maintain some sort of goal for creative time. And I'm talking about regular time to explore your own creativity without the pressure of selling, or it's, has to be something for your business. Basically, what I'm talking about is to set some time aside in order to keep your passion alive. So basically, your hobby time. If you craft something for your business, sometimes it can start to feel like work, and you don't want your creative time to feel like work time. Okay, so it's important to kind of have some sort of distinction there between the two, and to dedicate some sort of time to hobby time. So now what I'm going to talk about is some mindset goals. And I think these are just as important as tangible goals, because your behavior as a business owner has a direct impact on the tangible goals that I've mentioned earlier. For these goals, you can also think of them as habitual goals, because there's an opportunity to capitalize on your habits. So I want you to think of one new habit that you can introduce to your routine that has a lasting positive impact on your business. Then think of a bad habit that you have and eliminate it. And yeah, this, it might be easier said than done, because bad habits are hard to break, right? I mean, there's a reason why that phrase exists in the first place, but I am challenging you to bring both of these habitual changes to reality. You're capable of doing it, and just try to make a conscious decision to introduce that new habit and stick to it while ditching an old way that you know is holding you back. So I think this is kind of like a fun exercise for this year to try to do. A lot of the goals that we've mentioned before, again, it's like some sort of figure or statistic that we're trying to hit. But think about this as like a mindset thing, where if you are able to introduce something good and then eliminate something bad, this can really have a huge impact on what you're doing. So I think this can be a fun challenge throughout the year to work on. So far, I've mentioned a lot of different goals. All right. So while these are just a bunch of examples of goals that I'm throwing out there, it's important to set some kind of goals for yourself, because it will help you to stay motivated even when times are tough. So no matter what that might be, maybe it's something I haven't even mentioned yet in this video. I challenge you to comment below what your goals are and put it out there. Again, put it out into the universe and hold yourself accountable. So if you have something in mind, drop it down as a comment. But now that we've talked about some goals, let's discuss what you should do if you don't reach them. So if you take one thing away from this entire video, and I can't stress what I'm about to say enough, it's that if you don't reach a goal, it can sometimes be easy for us to say, oh, I failed, or this was a failed goal, it's a failure. But I want you to eliminate that thought from creeping in, because there's no value in I failed. And listen, I'm going to be honest, I'm not the type of person that, digs participation trophies and, I tried and stuff like that. Instead, I'm opportunistic, and nothing has served me better in business ventures than always being ready to pounce on opportunities that come my way. So, if you don't reach your goal, what happens? You should dig in, identify why the goal wasn't reached. What kept you from hitting that goal? Find out what that is. And if you can figure that out, then you've now built yourself a pathway to success because you know what kept you back. All right. So that's really important, is to not treat a goal that you didn't reach as a failure. Look at it as an opportunity, okay? Because you can capitalize on it, and there is a chance to still improve and make improvements based on a goal that wasn't reached. There's always going to be some kind of ups and downs when owning a business, but I hope that you have the courage to go ahead and put your goals out there and chase them down. And if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm fortunate to have one of the most positive and supportive communities on all of YouTube. I mean, genuinely, I seriously mean that. And I hope that you become part of that if you aren't already. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and have an amazing 2025.